This is the Trading Psychology Podcast. This is VP, creator of No Nonsense Forex and author of the book No Nonsense Forex Trading Psychology. And with me, as he is every episode, it is the ostentatious Robb Reinhold.
Well, hello everybody. Good to be here, and I don't even know what ostentatious means.
It's very outward in your personality, I guess the best way I could describe it.
All right, I'll take that.
Well, good enough. And just a couple things before we start today's episode. We are filming back-to-back here, so just like last episode, you may hear a lot of noise on my end. Please fight through it. I'm doing my best. And always remember, too, every single one of these episodes is brought to us by Maverick Trading and Maverick Currencies. All the relevant links are down below. The best goddamn trading firm in the entire world. Not even close. Give it a look. And Robb, moving on to this episode, I'm really curious to see what data you have on this. We didn't talk about this before the show. I get correspondence from people all the time that took 4 months off, as long as maybe 4 or 5 years off before they came back to trading and came back to my channel. And they always want to talk about it. And they always have very positive things to say. They're like, you know what, I'm really glad I took this break, clear my head. I'm like, why did it take you 5 years to clear your head? But anyway, I'm curious to see if you have had this happen at the firm as well. Now, there are desk fees at the firm, which may keep people trading. But I can understand why people still might also take a break. Do you see this a lot, or do you see this probably less than I do?
We definitely see it. And, when we take a look at the data, the overwhelming reason that people step back as traders from Maverick is their personal life got in the way. That's the number one reason, is that life is very complicated. Life is very complex. And so that's probably the biggest reason. But let me tell you what I have absolutely seen. It's always been a positive. I can't remember a time where someone said, Robb, I'm taking a break, and then they came back and they were worse. I just cannot even remember that.
Well, that's a thread we can certainly pull on, because I have always said in the past that you just need to power through it. And I think that's going to be the best way to go long term. Because if you simply take a break when things aren't going your way and you just keep doing that, well, then you're never really going to get that momentum going that is going to give you the results you're looking for in this field. So yeah, let's break this down a little bit, Robb, because I think you and I, as far as outcomes, might be on opposing sides here. Very interesting. It's been a while. So I guess we need to define terms. I think it's pretty obvious. But I guess maybe just the time range, Robb. How long what's the shortest amount of time you would actually consider defining taking a break from trading? Would it be a month? Would it be longer? Like where are you at on that scale?
Wow, I haven't even given this thought of what the actual time frame would be for me to label it as taking a break. Some people take a break for the rest of the week. Hey, I'm done trading on Tuesday. I'm going to take a break until next week. Again, where would I consider taking an actual extended break from trading? I would probably say a month. I think a month would be the shortest. Everything else was just a little pause or, hey, I'm going to go on vacation. But I think a month of where you truly have stepped away. And I'm not talking about you didn't click a button. I'm talking about truly stepped away, no longer watched the market, and so you really lost of what was even happening. That to me is where you've taken a break, to where you truly have stepped away from the markets, to where you really aren't even looking at what's happening in the market. That to me is what a break is, to where you've really disengaged and detached from the market activity. So a month.
Yeah, I can rock with that. Yeah, I think a month is the right amount of time, because people with your everyday jobs, they get 2 weeks vacation, 3 weeks vacation. Their kids do too. So a 2-3 week vacation, really, you don't want to be focusing on trading too much, unless you're a wild man and you really want to. But for the most part, I can certainly understand why you wouldn't. Now, did you have anything you want to add to that before we move forward, Robb? Because once we move forward, we've kind of passed the Rubicon here.
I do want to add in something. If you step back from trading, but you're still listening to CNBC, or you're still reading trading books, or if you're still engaged, that's not taking a break. That's just you're not clicking buttons. Like For me, a break is truly a break to where you've completely severed the stimulus of the market, where it's no longer part of your life. That to me is a break. Everything else is just I'm trading less or I'm inactive at the moment. Like a true break is to where you've severed the stimulus on a daily basis. So I just wanted to get that. That's my definition of a break. It might be different than yours, but that's my definition.
And I guess I wouldn't disagree with that, but all I'll say is, don't watch CNBC and don't read trading books unless it's mine. Okay, moving forward now. Like you were alluding to a moment ago, Rob, we need to first talk about why you took a break and identify these things before we actually come up with the solution. So, off the top of your head, Rob, what are some different reasons you can think of to where somebody might take a break that's as short as 1 month up to maybe 4 or 5 years?
Let me give you some personal experience here. I have taken 2 breaks from trading over my 28-year career. My first extended break that I took was in the fall of 1999 after I just took an 83% portfolio loss in phone.com. I've told that story before. I don't know what episode it's in, but that is my horror story. And I took a break from trading to where I really evaluated, can I do this? Is this what my life is going to be like? Can I handle the ups and downs of this business? And do I want to give it another shot? So that was from losses. That was from excessive losses that caused me to have to step back. Like I didn't want to step back, but it forced me to step back and reevaluate everything. So that was my first break that I took. And my second one was just personal reasons. Things happened in my life that were very sad, I don't want to use the word chaotic because they weren't chaotic, but they were just, it was very sad and I wasn't in the right mental space and I recognized that. And so I stepped back from trading about a month and it was a really positive thing for me. So for me personally, it was from losses and it was from life getting in the way. What about you, Patrick? I mean, can you think of any other reason why someone would take a step back?
I can think of one other one. We have 3 written down here. You covered 2. I'd say the third one would be is if you're just flat out burnt out from trading. It's even if you're doing something like trading the daily chart, which really removes a lot of burnout, it just might be something that just consumes your brain too much and consumes your brain every day. And that's not healthy. So maybe the best thing to do would be to take a break. So that would be the third one that I can think of. Can you think of any more, or do you think those are the 3 main?
I think those are the 3 main ones.
Yeah, I would probably agree. Okay, so now, well, you know what? Before we move to the solutions, actually, it's still early in the show. I think we can do this. Let's take that first one that we have on our notes here. If life gets in the way, let's talk about the different things that may happen in your life to where stopping your trading might be the right solution. Again, I think there's very few times in life to where this could be the case, but I do understand. We did a whole episode, Rob, on being in the right frame of mind to trade in the first place, and you might not be there, and it's because something happens. So, what do you think some of those examples might be? And I'll try to come up with a few as well.
Let me give you some real life stories from Maverick Trading where I've actually seen a trader who's very consistent get very erratic and really start to trade strangely. I've had this happen enough times that I already know what's happening. I get on the phone with them. I said, hey, how are things going? Things are sorry about, they always are apologetic, like, sorry about my trading. Like, I know. I said, no, look. What's going on in your personal life? And they always just sit there in silence. And they're like, how did you know? I said, I don't know, but I've seen this enough. Yeah, I'm going through a really nasty divorce at the moment. Or, I'm going through a sickness. Like, my health isn't good. Almost every single time I've made that call to where I saw someone who was a consistent trader become erratic When I called them on the phone, it was because their personal life was in turmoil. So I think anything that would put your personal life in turmoil, a breakup, a death of someone, a loved one, I think all of these things are going to cause a lot of internal torment for you. And it's just going to be very difficult for you to trade unemotionally when things like that happen. So I think some sort of tragedy or loss is probably the biggest one that I think people have to really be aware of to make sure that they're not trading when they're sad.
Yeah, and the two I'm thinking of are actually a lot more positive. The first one is maybe you take a new job that involves a lot of traveling. And I can tell you, as somebody who's traveled probably more in the last couple of years than I ever have before, it's really hard, even with the daily chart. We spoke a couple episodes ago about how I've moved to the weekly, and we're going to see how that goes. I don't have enough data to really tell you anything right now, but it was a move I had to make, and I'm actually pretty excited about making. I always wanted to see what trading this way in the Forex market would look like. It's quite positive for metals. I really want to see how it would translate over here. So I kind of made lemonade with that one. But if you have a new job that just takes you past those trading hours, or if you pick up a second job or a third job and you're just working all the time, then yeah, you probably shouldn't try to shoehorn trading in on top of all this. It's just way too much stress. You already have enough on top of it. You already have enough on you right now. To where the second one is similar, and that's if you just had a baby. Your life, especially if it's your first one. I'm speaking from experience. I have no kids, but I can pretty much say that your life is going to completely change. Your schedule is going to completely change. Your emotions and your stress levels are going to completely change.
Your sleep is going to completely change because you will not have sleep. You will be a zombie walking around life. Trust me.
And that's what I was alluding to with schedule. For sure, your daily schedule is going to be completely different. So during this time, however long it takes for the baby to break this cycle, whether that's 6 months, 2 years, I don't know, whatever babies do, then maybe this isn't the right time either. I totally get it in these particular situations. Because, yeah, trading and watching your actual money go up and down is a stressful thing. Now, I guess... Let's have a little debate back and forth about the actual solution before we start breaking down solutions for individual situations. Okay. Now, I fully admit, I've been very fortunate in how long has it been? The 15 years I've been trading, right? I haven't had any really great tragedies. I haven't had a child. I haven't gotten married. A lot of things that would cause somebody to want to take a break just haven't happened to me. I've been very, very fortunate. Now, as I've gotten older, my parents have gotten older, and a lot of this is about to change very shortly. So I'm going to find out. Thank God I'm trading the weekly chart now. Let's just put it that way. But I would say it's situational. I would say if you're getting burnt out or if you're losing a lot, I always say, Rob, if you're going through hell, keep going. I feel like training humans is a lot like training dogs. If as soon as the going gets tough, you turn tail and leave, then you're going to do that every time. And you're going to be in this constant doom loop to where you're never really progressing the way you need to. Sometimes it's almost like the great basketball coach, Phil Jackson. If you were out there and just missing every shot and getting fouls and getting frustrated and stuff like that, Phil would leave you in the game. He wouldn't take you out. He would say, look, you got to work your way out of this. And that's one of the things that made him really great. So depending on what that situation is, if life gets in the way, life gets in the way. But if you are taking a break because you're just losing a bunch or because it's just consuming your brain, I would say, you know what? This is not the first time something like this is going to happen. It's probably going to happen again, and you can't just turn tail and take breaks every single time. You got to keep going.
I will agree with that in theory, but let's go back to Phil Jackson. Let's say he's got a player that just lost their mom, and that player is missing free throws. I'm pretty sure Phil Jackson's going to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you sit on the bench for a little bit? We'll put someone else in that isn't going through what you're doing. It's very nuanced. So Look, I agree. I agree. You can't quit. You can't give up. But there are times where you have to be honest and really look at yourself. And that's what this is all about. When we talk about when life gets in the way, it's really about either your mental state or it's about your amount of time. And if those are just not congruent, like if you are moving across the country, like don't try to trade. Don't try to trade. You do not have the time for that. So really, as long as you don't have the time, the answer is you should stay on a break. When you then have the time, you're right, Patrick. You absolutely have to go and get back on the horse, regardless of your performance before that. If you step back because of something in your life that was really stressful and your mental state just isn't correct, then the right answer is to stay out until that is fixed. Until that's fixed. Once it's fixed, yes, absolutely, get right back on the horse and you keep trading. You cannot quit at this, but we also have to be realistic on what you can and can't do in the moment.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of people approach me and say, hey, I took all this time off and I'm back and I'm really enjoying the material and the trading's going really well. I'm like, well, how long has it been going really well? A couple weeks? And now you're all excited? Who's to say that this break you just took is actually really serving you? Maybe it is for a short amount of time, but talk to me 2-3 years down the road, and we can really look back and see if this was the best move for you. But yeah, I think you and I both agree now. We can kind of separate life getting in the way from poor performance and just simply getting burnt out. So let's go ahead and start with life getting in the way. And Rob, talk about some of the individual solutions that you can take once you have decided it's time to finally return.
It comes down to the two reasons why you would take a break. Number one is time. That's very easy to quantify. That's very easy to figure out. Okay, I just took a new job and I have to do 3 weeks of very intense training where I can't have my phone on or anything. Okay, well then you now know, hey, that is your break. You're not going to be doing anything during that period of time. And you might even say, you know what, and then I need to be on the job for another 3 weeks to really get comfortable. So that's very easy to determine, the time one. I actually don't think we need to talk much about it. Like, everyone knows when they're overwhelmed with other stuff in their life with time and when they're not, and when they finally have time to do trading. So the time one I don't want to spend a lot of time on because I think that's a fairly easy answer when you have enough time. The other one, where your mental state isn't right, that one's difficult because I'll tell you what, it's very difficult to know when to step away from trading when you're not in a good mental space because you're not self-aware at that moment. Like, it's very difficult to be self-aware. This is where it really helps to get a call from me. Like, hey, I've noticed some crazy stuff going on. If you have a partner you're trading with, an accountability partner, it's very, very difficult for you to see that you aren't in the right state of mind for trading. Because look, we all love trading. It's awesome. It's so fun. It's very difficult. So the things you need to take a look at is, performance. If you have some bad performance, that's when you got to do a mental check. Are you having difficulty in other areas of your life? I think that's a good one. So if you used to go to the gym all the time and now you can't get yourself to go to the gym, hey, that should be a red flag that, whoa, something is wrong here. What is wrong with my mood? So I think it's very, very difficult to put yourself on a break from not being in the right mental space. The answer is fairly easy. It's when you're in the right mental space. What that means, I think you've got to spend a little bit of time and quantify what that means when you step back. So let's say you step back because you're in a bad divorce and you just can't handle it. And things are chaotic. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to get back into trading when my divorce is final. And then you're going to check in on that date and be like, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm right yet. I'm going to wait until, the first of the year. You can set your time frame as far as that goes. But, until your mental state is better, you can't come back. But it's up to you to really determine when that is. But it's very, very difficult to know that you need to step away because of your mental state. That is definitely a very progressed person with self-awareness to actually be able to step away. So just always think about that. If there's other things in your life that are also going poorly, then that's a sign that you've got major problems. It's not just trading, it's major problems in your life.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that whole life getting in the way thing has a lot more variations than you probably thought at first. It really does. And it all comes down to what it is and how long you were away. But I will say this as far as other solutions go. If you come back and you're in the right state of mind, I would say if you've only been gone a month or so, just keep right on trading. Nothing's changed. You got your system. The muscle memory is still there. If it's something that was longer, though, what I would do, and Rob, you can tell me if you agree or disagree with this, is have a really short period of demo trading first, just so you can get that muscle memory back. We say it all the time. One of the biggest reasons why you demo trade is so you don't lose trades because you put in the wrong order or the wrong stop loss, or you're looking at the wrong pair. Or you forgot there was a big news event coming up because you're not in that frame of mind yet. You need to get back into that frame of mind and not make mistakes because you're fumbling around with the platform. So do that. I would say maybe a couple weeks to a month is probably all you need. And then you can get right back to it, because I'm going to tell you what right now. Markets do change, but it takes a very long time for them to change to where you might have to adjust something in your system. I think once you've gotten demo trading out of the way after a comeback, Rob, I think you can just pick it right up and go again. Don't you?
I 100% agree with everything you said. 3 weeks to a month, I think you're going to be just fine.
All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and like I said, it's not a static solution there. It all depends on what's been going on and how long you were off. But I hope Rob and I did a good job at least illustrating, the different routes you can take based on what that thing was. Now, the other two kind of fall in that other category, to where VP says just tough it out there, Cupcake. You got to keep trading because these things are going to happen a lot. And the first one is if you're just burnt out. I think, Rob, this happens more to new traders because I don't think about Forex trading too much on a daily basis. I mean, I know what it's almost like Pavlov's dog. I know when I'm supposed to, be in front of my charts. But apart from that, I barely give it any thought, to where your brand new traders, that's all they can think about. I mean, they even think people like us are weird because we don't think about it all the time. But sometimes if it's consuming you like this, then again, I just say get over it. Maybe I'm being too brusque here. I don't know. But do you think you should be trading if you're just burnt out on the entire game?
Burnout is simply overstimulation. That's it. You've had too much stimulus, which means that you are watching too much, caring too much, worrying about it too much. You're doing everything too much. Now, the best way to combat that is to change what you're doing, because you should not get overstimulated. That just should not happen. You should not get burned out. If you get burned out, it means you are not trading in a way that fits your personality. So change your trading system to something that fits your personality.
Yeah, that's one of the solutions we have here, is especially change your time frame. I bet you a lot of you out there who get burnt out are scalping. That is a very common symptom of people who scalp, is they get burnt out over time. I told you it happened to me. A lot of it was the hours I was keeping. I was trading from 12 midnight to 6 in the morning and then going to bed all stressed out. And I was like, this is a horrible lifestyle. I'm probably going to die when I'm 52, at this rate. Something has to change. And I made the adjustment. I switched to the daily chart. Life is getting in the way now, so I'm switching to the weekly chart. And that's not a terrible move. I would say maybe going to the monthly, if you're a trader, is probably overkill. I don't think there's a big advantage there. I do think there is for investing. We've talked about it on my other podcast. But I would say the weekly is probably about as far as you can go. And I don't think your performance is going to fall off too much if you do that. So don't be afraid to make those changes if you think they're appropriate. But usually burnout happens to people who are trading very small time frame charts. Now, the other one I would say is, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this too, Rob, because there's a psychological edge to this for sure, is, you might be getting burnt out because trading is all you can think about, and the Forex market is all I can think about. Trust me, I've been there. I was there for a while. You might just need to find something else to occupy that brain space. Find something else that interests you and see if you can trade effectively despite the fact that Forex isn't the only thing that occupies your mind now. Because let me tell you, as time goes on, that's going to happen. You're going to think about it less and less and less and less. But you're still, if you want to have good performance, you're still going to have to trade just as much as you were doing before. So you may as well get used to it now. Find something, whether it's a video game or a particular category of science you've always been interested in, a Netflix show, anything that is going to take up that brain space where Forex used to take up. Because I'm telling you right now, Rob, and you know this too, the people who just have trading on the mind all the time, they're not good traders. They overthink everything. They get burnt out. This is not the headspace you want to be. So the quicker you get out of that headspace, I think long term, if you can still stick with trading and still keep doing it despite the fact that you're not thinking about it too much, the better off you're going to be. So you may as well start now.
We covered a lot of this in episode 5 in our overtrading. And we talk about the people that are overtraders, they're high energy people. They want stimulus all the time. And we talked about you've got to break the stimulus. You've got to find other things that stimulate your mind outside of trading, and we go through a whole list of things. So yeah, if you get burned out, it means you are a high energy individual and you just went too far. But telling a high energy individual to just not be that way is dumb. So you have to replace the stimulus you're getting from the market with other sources. So go to episode 5. We got a whole bunch of sources you can check in on that one.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I was this way for a lot longer than I should have been back in the day. I would go to Dukas Copy TV and just always hit refresh until one of the new news clips came up that, as we've talked about on the show, means absolutely nothing. But I was just so in it, and I couldn't break away from it. And as a result, I was not a great trader for a long time until I got rid of all that. So those are your two solutions if you're getting burnt out. One, change your time frame to a longer time frame. It's not going to hurt your results. It's probably going to help your results. And two, find yourself a new love. Find yourself a new muse, something you can dedicate your brain space to. So when you go trade, trading isn't the only thing on your mind. Number 3, the last one we have here, we alluded to it earlier in the show, and this is if you're losing a lot. Rob, we've talked about this too. And I think the solutions are very obvious, but I think they're worth repeating. The first one is find out why you're losing. And how do we find out why we're losing? Through our journal. Don't have a journal? That's probably why you're losing.
Absolutely. It should be in your journal. But it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to really evaluate yourself if you're still in the fight. Imagine you are a boxer and you're in a boxing match and your corner's like, hey, I want you to think about all the errors you made in round 3 and it's round 7. And someone's punching you in the face. I mean, can you even imagine trying to actually think about the stuff you threw in round 3 and how you didn't do it right? You have to take a step back. And this is where if you're in a situation and you're not getting the results you like, you have to take a step back, because if you don't sever that, it's like that analogy I just said. It's you're getting punched in the face still. It's very hard to look back and see what you did wrong in round 3. So I think you have to take a step back. You have to stop the stimulus, take a step back, look at your journal, really do a deep dive, and really figure out what is going on. We did a whole episode on dealing with slumps, and we talked about the first thing you need to do is make sure that you aren't the reason. If you are the reason, there's no reason to go back to trading until you fix that mistake. So the dealing with slumps episode, number 1 is you got to make sure that you're not the mistake. Now look, this actually could be impaired with number 1. You could step back and say, why am I sucking so bad lately? And then it'd be like, oh yeah, my life's not going great at the moment. And then all of a sudden you recognize, oh, I need to take a step back, not because I'm a bad trader, it's because my life is in shambles. And we just talked about that one. So the first thing you got to do is look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I the reason for the slump?
And you are almost certainly the reason for the slump, because as Robb's Flat Earth Trading Society YouTube channel illustrated, that it almost doesn't matter what trades you take. As long as you manage them the right way, which is not hard to do, then you're gonna be a plus money trader. So if you're not even doing that, then there has to be something wrong. And that's where I think journaling is so important. And this is where I would differ from Robb a little bit. I wouldn't even say you need to take time off. I would say when you sit down to trade, let's say you're trading the daily chart. I always say 10, 15 minutes is all you need. Maybe go 30. In that first 15 minutes, have your journal open. Look back at your mistakes so you're aware of them and they're fresh in your head. Because a lot of times we'll make mistakes sometimes, repeat mistakes, and forget like, oh crap, I've made this mistake before. Well, don't allow yourself to do that this time. Have all those mistakes that you have made in your trading history fresh in your head as you go into today's trading session. That way you're a lot less likely to make them. I think that's always a really good way to go. And by doing that, you can slowly eliminate them month by month by month. I will bet if you do this, you will see a decrease in mistakes made month after month, because it's just like we do on the show, Robb. You have to identify the problem first before you can do anything about it.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here, because if you are making the same mistake that you made last month, 2 months ago, then obviously you haven't fixed anything. And you just saying, don't make that mistake again, is going to fail again, because you did that last time, you did it the time before. So I think if you are repeating mistakes, I think a break is warranted, because you can't fix this by willpower. You can't fix this by, hey, you know what, I'm just not going to do it again because you said that last time. You're just going to do the same thing again. So I like taking a break, stepping back, looking at why you're doing these things, take a deep dive, and like overtrading. Why am I overtrading so much? Well, go to the overtrading episode. We talk about all the reasons why people overtrade. You have to fix that before you come back. If you don't fix it and you think that you can just not do it next time, guess what? You're lying to yourself. You've told yourself 3 times before in the past that you wouldn't make that mistake, and you've made it 3 times. You think you're going to follow it the 4th time? No. Figure out what rules you can put in place, what things you can do to not even get in that situation. Then you're ready to come back for trading. So I like the break to fix mistakes that are compounded, that have been made over and over and over again. I think you have to step back, because it's your system that needs to change. There's something in that system that you can't follow. I definitely like a break in that situation.
Man, I don't know. It's like if you're sitting there with a spreadsheet in front of you, a journal in front of you, and one of the biggest mistakes you make is over leveraging, and you've looked at it, and then 5 minutes later you go in and over leverage on a trade, like you might just be defective and you don't belong in this arena. And we've talked about that too in our episode on quitting. Not everybody's made for this game. That is a possibility. I suppose the only way to fix that is 2 ways. Either A, have the self-awareness to realize you're not meant for this. 2, maybe as Robb said, I don't know. I hate to give you this one, Robb, but I might. Maybe taking a break is going to somehow fix this deficiency. I don't know. But there's very other solutions I can think of. Maybe just stepping away for a moment, could be the move.
Patrick, we agree a lot on this show, but I cannot disagree with you more. Remember the story I told where I would print out on a label maker all the mistakes that I shouldn't make, and I put them, I stuck them to my monitor, to where when I was looking at my monitor, I was literally looking at don't make this mistake as I was making the mistake. Now, you could look at that and say, oh, this guy's broken. This guy's the dumbest person in the world. He'll never make it. I did make it. What I did is I stepped back and I psychologically worked on myself, because there was something defective in me. You are right. Absolutely was something defective inside of me. I could have quit and gone to done something else. Or I could put in the hard work of going through psychological reasons and figuring out, I'm going to make this mistake every time. How in the world can I trade? What systems can I put in place that make it to where I don't even have to make this decision? That's the whole point of this podcast, is you can't fix it with determination. You have to figure out how to do it. And if you're in the boxing match still getting punched by the market, you can't figure it out. You got to take a step back.
Well, before we end it here, Rob, I want to pull on that just a little bit more, because that is really interesting. That is a good example. I have no examples myself. Well, I have to sit there and think X equals Y, A equals B. So when you realized that you had your own mistakes staring you in the face and you still made them, did you take time off? And what happened during that time off to get you to correct this behavior overall? I'm curious now.
This is the basis for this entire podcast and everything we do at Maverick for trading psychology, is that there are things that you are fundamentally broken when you go into the market. Everyone has something that is not suited for life as a trader. Behavior change is extremely hard, and it is a process. Nobody, and I'm just going to take something like alcoholism. So let's say that, if someone is an alcoholic. You don't go to an AA meeting once and you be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm never going to drink again. No, it is a long process of being mindful, of avoiding. They talk about if you drive home past your favorite bar on your way home from work, change your route. Drive a completely different route to where you're not seeing where that bar is. If there's people in your life that you always drink with, maybe you need to break away from those people and get some different friends that don't drink. There's things that can be done to where, when you're an alcoholic, it's a struggle your whole life. There's absolutely things you can work on, and it doesn't happen overnight. It can take years and years to really do some behavior change. You don't have to quit trading and spend years and years trying to change this behavior, but you do have to be aware. And I like the break to make you very aware, to really be like, oh, I've made this mistake 4 times. I suck. This is broken in me. And then you have to go through the process of, how am I going to fix it? And let me tell you what, you will make that mistake again. But here's the great thing. Where you were making it every single month, now you're making it once every 4 months. That's improvement. And then all of a sudden, now you're only making it once every year. And then all of a sudden, it pops up out of nowhere where you haven't made the mistake for 5 years and you make it again. Just like an alcoholic, you're not done. You have to be on guard all of the time. So again, I am very passionate about this. This is the whole purpose of what we do, is you have to become self-aware. And a break forces people to become self-aware if they're really intent on improving themselves as a trader.
So this is good. Sometimes when Rob and I disagree, you can take all of the options, all of the arguments we've set out, and decide what's best for you. Because I really like episodes like this, because I think they're a lot more familiar to traders than some of the other episodes we do on here that might be a little more niche. I think this applies to almost everybody. Either it already has applied to you or it will apply to you at some point. So it helps to have a psychological game plan on what to do when you return. So on that note, thank you for joining us here on the Trading Psychology Podcast. Rob and I will both. See you next week.
Goodbye.